Hi everyone, welcome back to episode 3 of I'd Quit But I'm Broke.
A careers podcast brought to you by Student Beans.
We hope you enjoyed episode 2 with Ali Sevier.
This week we are speaking to Hazel Mead, an illustrator, feminist and taboo tackler who has had work commissioned by brands such as Netflix, Adobe, Ann Summers and Facebook.
And we're recording this on International Women's Day, so that's very fitting.
Yeah, really fitting actually.
I actually saw on your Instagram earlier you posted an illustration by Hazel.
I did, yeah. It was a really cool one. It was kind of like a woman with an afro and it said International Women's Day in it. Happy International Women's Day. And I thought that is really pretty and I wanted to post something today to kind of mark the occasion, yeah.
Well, let's welcome on our guest for the week, Hazel Mead.
Welcome, Hazel.
Thank you. Thank you for having me as well on International Women's Day.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So for our listeners who maybe don't know who you are or what you do you want to just give them a little rundown about you and yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Hazel Mead. I'm a freelance illustrator and feminist, and I create illustrations for different companies, charities and brands, usually with some kind of taboo tackling angle. Yeah, and with some kind of joyful element as well.
So that's all really interesting, but before we jump into it, we're going to have to start with our icebreaker questions. I'll start. What was the worst style choice you ever made?
I think fashion-wise, I went through a lumberjack shirt phase, so like all these checked shirts with white sleeves when I was about 14. I thought it looked really cool. And looking back, I was like, why did I have so many of those shirts?
Next question. Who was your childhood actor/actress crush?
Oh, I've had so many. Okay, so this is a really fun one. And hopefully someone out there will relate to this. But remember Thomas the Tank Engine? James the Train was a very sexy train.
I really wasn't expecting that.
I have nothing to say about that. I think we best move on.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want a more traditional, conventional one, Benedict Cumberbatch was
nice. Yeah.
That's a better answer.
more relatable, but maybe someone out there has just gone, I'm not alone.
Actually, my best friend said the same thing to me. So I think there's a little community of people out there.
I guess you're best friends for a reason.
Yeah.
Next question. If you were a wrestler, what would your entrance theme song be?
Maybe Survivor. Can I go Christina Aguilera, Survivor?
Yeah, good one.
Yeah,
really
that's a good track.
one. Yeah.
Not sure how hyped up it would get you, but
It fits with wrestling. I like it.
It was just on the spot. That was the first thing I could think of.
No, I like that one. You have to sing karaoke. What song do you pick?
Probably something from ABBA, Dancing Queen.
Classics.
Maybe.
you can't go wrong with ABBA at karaoke.
No.
How about you two?
Oh.
I'm Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus.
Yeah. I'm Shania Twain, Man, I Feel Like a Woman.
Oh, that's a good
I
one.
love that one and I know most of the words.
Me too. You do it with a hairbrush.
Yeah, exactly. I practice it all the time.
And lastly, what is one thing we don't know about you?
Maybe that I had a crush on a cartoon train.
We're learning that now.
Anything else you don't know about me? I used to collect corks.
Like wine bottle corks?
Wine bottle corks.
Okay. Is that a thing? Or was that just
Yeah, and then at the end I made a cork board out of it.
Oh, okay. Oh, that makes more sense.
Brilliant. Yeah.
But I just enjoyed like the little illustrations on it, actually. I think that's one of the reasons I collected them, like looking at the different...
I was going to say, did you only pick
Aesthetically.
the more interesting ones? Or
No, I sort of collected them all and then tried to see whether, like, how many different ones there were.
Ah.
Yeah.
Is there like a community for that, like coin collecting? I know that's quite a big thing.
I have no idea. It was when I was quite young, like maybe 10. I wasn't drinking the wine, don't worry.
I was going to say. No, I reckon if you went on kind of like a crafting website, I reckon people probably do make crafts with corks because they're quite
probably.
useful material.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that until now, until you asked me. Yeah.
So let's jump into your awful job history.
Mm-hmm.
What is the worst job you've ever had?
There's one that sticks out because it was just washing pots in a restaurant. So it wasn't the most pleasant job. Like my hands were just like really dry at the end of the shift and wrinkled actually from the water, the greasy water, and then it would dry out later. yeah, £3.50 an hour. At the time, I thought I was, living the high life, earning money finally. But the job itself, yeah.
Pretty grimy.
Yeah, very grimy. Like, just greasy. Like, I just smelled greasy when I came out of it. But I think it prepared me for jobs in the future. Like, if I can do that as a job, bring it on.
You can get through anything.
Exactly.
What was the smell like? Where in the kitchen were you as well? Were you in the back corner? Were you was it, like, I always remember I used to work in a restaurant, it's always wet on the floor near the pot wash and things like that.
It was wet. There were like chips on the floor. There was sort of the dirty sink and then the slightly cleaner sink and then the dishwasher. The smell wasn't great. No. And it was just people's plates of half-eaten food. I had to scrape it into the bin. Ooh.
Not a job you want to go back to?
No, not if I can help it anyway.
No.
So you mentioned you earned £3.50 while you were there.
Yeah.
How much would we have to pay you to go back?
An hour?
Yeah, go on.
Let's say £500 an hour.
Wow.
Steep rate.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, one client pays that. So, I mean, if they're paying that, the pot washing people can pay me that.
I think they might as well get a dishwasher at that point, to be honest.
Yeah, it might be cheaper. But I agree. That's a good rate, really. And some really protective gloves to keep your hands nice and wrinkle-free. And if you had to rate that job, 5 being, it was all right, not too bad. It was a bad job, but it wasn't horrendous. Yeah. 1 being, worst thing ever, would never go back. What would you rate it?
I'd say a 1.5 because I hate doing the washing up now, just even at home, and that's only a few things, not like a whole restaurant's worth of food.
Do you think that's developed out of the job?
Maybe. I'll always try and dry up or put away if that's an option.
It just takes you back to a bit too much.
Yeah, I didn't think about it like that, but probably.
So we're moving on to the section of the podcast that we call listener questions. Basically, we put feelers out on our Instagram and we ask everyone who's listening just to send you a question if they can think of one. So I'll go first. What's the thing that pisses you off most in life?
I think closed-minded people. I'm quite open-minded and I like to try and see all sides of an argument. So when someone's really closed-minded, I don't know, I just try and work them to open up a bit and see the other side of an argument.
I think it's always the most annoying if you're having an argument like that.
Yeah.
Frustrating, yeah, definitely. I think that'd be up there on my list as well. Next listener question. How do you get over nerves of sharing your work online?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I think I sort of hype myself up for it and then just post it without hesitating. Just, okay, done, tick it off the to-do list, just go. Sometimes I do delay it for a few days because I'm a bit nervous about, what's the reaction going to be? That's sometimes a worry, like, have I got this completely wrong? Is this not going to resonate with people? But yeah, and then it'll come to the day and I'm like, I'm going to do it today and just post and share.
Post and close your eyes and just do it. Get it out of the way.
Are you someone that keeps up to date with the reaction or do you just post and, turn your phone off?
For the first hour, I keep up to date with the reactions just to see what's going on. And also, apparently, if you engage more in the first hour, then it reaches more of your audience or something. So in the first hour, I'm replying to everyone, liking everything, and yeah.
You've got to get the algorithm going.
Come on, algorithm.
Yeah.
What's the most taboo thing you've ever illustrated?
Probably things you don't see in mainstream porn. I think that was the one that made everyone go, oh,
yeah,
and share it as well. Maybe because it had that taboo element. No one really talks about it.
That's brilliant. We're going to come back to that post because I know that's quite a crucial one that you illustrated.
Yeah,
definitely. Another listener question is, do you ever get creative block? If so, how do you overcome it?
Oh, this is a good question. And do I? Not really, actually. And I'll explain why. I think being creative, it's actually like a muscle, and the more you're doing it and the more you're in the flow of it, the more it just kind of comes naturally. That's what I've found anyway. But I do have some tips for people that get creative block because I used to, but now I do it every single day for my job. So the ideas just come and come and come. But before that, if I'd got creative block, I would stop thinking about it. When you're thinking about it, you're too in it and you can't see objectively and come up with new ideas. And the best ideas always come when you're in the shower, when you're on the toilet, when you're about to go to sleep, when you're not thinking about that. And I just recommend stepping away and tucking it away until you can, until it comes to you, until inspiration strikes.
Good advice. Yeah, don't overthink anything.
How much of your final illustrations are planned? Like, you know what you're going to draw here, there, and whatever.
I'd say most of them, actually. I have kind of a solid plan of how it's going to look. Maybe the colours I'll edit at the end, and maybe I don't know how it looks colour-wise, but all the drawings I've kind of planned it out first, and then do the line work, then do the colour.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
How much time do you spend on each of your illustrations? I imagine it varies, so...
It varies. It just depends how complex it is, and how lazy I'm being that day. So it could be, and also a deadline. Like, I can work some crazy magic to a tight deadline just to get that money, because they'll say, "Can you turn this around in a couple of days?" And I'll be like, "Yes,
Wow.
give me that money."
I can adapt.
Yes, could take maybe 2-3 days. It could take a week. Could take 2 weeks.
It's really cool that your work's been featured on Netflix. So what is your favourite Netflix TV show?
Okay, so my favourite show, it's not on Netflix.
Okay.
But it should be, because it's great. It's Poirot. You know Agatha Christie's Poirot?
Rings a
He's
vague
this
bell.
Belgian detective with a moustache, and it's a murder mystery.
I know that one, yeah.
It's kind of what old people watch, but I love it, and it's my comfort program. And if ever I feel sad, or if at uni when I was feeling a bit homesick, I'd just put on Poirot.
Oh, yeah, that's lovely. Do you have a TV show that's like nostalgic?
Probably something like Peep Show for me. I remember in sixth form, me and a few friends, we would just binge watch Peep Show. To the point like we could recite it. It was terrible.
Wow.
What about you?
Mine would have to be Gavin and Stacey.
Oh yeah, another
It's
good
just
shout.
a go-to.
Stacey,
Yeah, and my mum used to watch it a lot, and all my family. So it's something that, if ever I need a laugh, like you said, you just need cheering up, or you're a bit homesick, that's what I put on.
Oh, I love Gavin and Stacey. My boyfriend hadn't seen it either, so I got the delight of introducing him to Gavin and Stacey.
Did you like it?
He loved it.
Oh, good.
So we're going to move on now to more talking about what you're doing now, the industry in general. I just think the creative industry as a whole is kind of appreciated but undervalued. Do you think that kind of makes sense?
You spoke to my heart right there. Yes, everyone says, "Oh, I love art and everything," but when it comes to actually paying for it, I haven't had it for a little while, but a lot of people get requests, "Can you do this for free?" Actually, no, I did, from a really big institution. I had a call with them, and so I said, "Oh, so what's the budget?" And they said, "Oh, there is no budget." And it's just frustrating, because other industries, you wouldn't dream of asking, "Oh, can you just whip up a house for me for free?"
Yeah.
Yet art and illustration and creativity, it's everywhere. Design, it's everywhere. Yet for some reason, it's kind of seen as a hobby, and not something you get paid for. But it is an industry, the illustration industry. You can make money out of it, I promise.
I think one of my biggest misconceptions about the industry is that it's really difficult to be successful and have consistent work and to go freelance, because, art is really subjective. So people are going to like it and some people aren't. So how hard or easy would you say it is to become like an established artist, illustrator?
I want to be really positive and optimistic and encourage people to follow their dreams. If you want to become an illustrator, do it. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's really hard. Like, I'd say I'm established and successful, yet there are still months that are very quiet and I don't have any work. And people think, "Oh, you've got a huge following, you must be rolling in money." It's not the case. I've got a kind of steady stream of commissions, and some months are great, but there are some months, especially January, when people are kind of recovering from Christmas and haven't got their ideas for projects for the year in, when maybe you won't make that much money at all. Maybe you won't even cover your rent, but maybe the next month, you'll make loads of money. So it's so up and down. And I think if you want to go down the freelance route, you've got to be prepared for that, and you've got to be someone that can deal with that instability.
Was that something that surprised you, or was that kind of told you like you will have ups and downs?
No, it was told to me at uni, actually. It wasn't, "This is how to draw." It was, "This is how to make a business out of drawing," which I really liked, and that's why I went there as well.
And what would you say are the business skills involved with being an artist that, people could brush up on maybe if they want to do that freelance?
It's all the things outside of drawing. So it's networking. That's a big part of getting commissions. It's admin, it's emails, it's accounting even. Yeah, marketing.
Yeah.
So there are lots of memes, I think, on Designers Humour that talk about how, you're presenting yourself like, I'm an illustrator, but you're also all these other job titles as well. You're just a one-man band at home.
Yeah.
So how did people tend to react at university when you tell them, oh, I'm doing illustration?
So for me, I had a really positive experience because I come from a family of artists. So they all get it. My grandpa was a freelance illustrator and layout artist, which was what was here before InDesign. People would kind of cut out the blocks of text and arrange them on a page and do the typography by hand and do the illustrations by hand. So he was my biggest idol, actually. I really looked up to him, and I had someone that had already done it, and I could kind of learn from him. And in the rest of my family, they're all creatives, like designers, retouchers.
So that's really great from your family because they obviously all understood. But I think there's a sort of notion that arts degrees maybe aren't as valuable as, the sciences or maths. Did you find that within other students, maybe off your course?
Actually, no. A lot of people outside of arts courses really found it amazing that we could do art. And the one thing I always hear from people whenever I say I'm an artist, they say, oh, that's so great, I can't draw. And interestingly, everyone can draw. It's just over time, society has conditioned them to think they're not good enough to be to say that they can draw. But as a child, you just draw freely and happily, and I think we lose that.
What would you personally say to anybody that kind of bashes the creative industries or doesn't consider them real jobs or hobbies, like you said earlier? What would be your message to people like that?
I would say try and make it as a career, and you'll experience how hard it is to succeed in it, and how hard it is to create a business for yourself.
I think that's a good response. So now I want to actually dive into your career. So can you talk us through how you graduated university and decided, you know what, I want to do freelance?
Yeah, I think it was at university I decided I'd go freelance, because before that I was thinking, maybe an animation studio, maybe in-house illustration. But I don't want to get this figure wrong, but I think about 90% of illustrators are freelance. So I realised, this is if this is what I want to do, I'm going to have to go down this path.
Is there a bit of like a freelance community, or do you not really know other freelancers?
Oh no, there's definitely a freelance community. I mainly know freelance illustrators, but also some freelance writers. And we always talk about the same hardship, but also how great it is and how we never want to work for anyone else ever again. It's nice to have people that get it, and you can relate to them, and they're going through the same highs and lows of it as you. And it's like nothing else. Once you go freelance, you probably won't want to go back.
I can imagine. What would you say is the best part of being a freelance artist?
I think the best part is you can set your own timelines. That if you want to wake up at 11 o'clock in the morning, you can do that. I don't, but some people do, and you have the luxury of deciding which work hours work for you. And I do have a friend that she realised she works best in the evening, so she would wake up at 11 and finish work at 11.
You were quite fortunate to have a background of a family of illustrators, and obviously you went to university and kind of got taught how to make it a business. Is there anything that you weren't prepared for?
It's one thing having all that information and knowledge, and I felt so prepared. I think I was the most prepared I could have been, but then actually trying to go it alone. I'll give you an example. The first summer out of university, I thought, right, I know what I'm doing. I've got a list of all these art directors I'm going to contact, because at the time I wanted to be an editorial illustrator. And I spent my summer creating lists of all these art directors and their addresses, and I was sending them things, and I got nothing back. I was ringing up offices like The Guardian, like, can I speak to the art director, please? I got nothing back. I think I got 2 meetings with art directors, which was great. They gave me some advice, but it resulted in no commissions. And that was a good learning experience. Like, oh, okay, this is a really hard industry to get into, because you need, art directors want to see experience or previous work. And coming out of university, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, the editorial route, I wasn't quite sure how to break into it. And I didn't. And I sort of had to carve a different path that I didn't realise I could carve. But this has worked out great for me.
So you've kind of adapted your plans as you've gone for it, really.
Yeah, I think maybe that's something that I would say you've got to be a little bit adaptable, because maybe you think you're going to go down one path, but if that path's not open for you, then, you know, I think that's the great thing about being creative, is that you can be creative with your career as well and come at it at different angles. So the way I got into it was I did an internship, and then I got a little part-time job, and then I was like slowly building up clients, but this was more branding work rather than editorial illustration. And then I kind of shifted to doing lots of brand illustration, and that became my thing, and I'm really happy doing that now.
So at what point in your career journey did you really realise this is going somewhere, people are enjoying my work?
So for me, I actually had a big turning point. So I'd had a full-time job for 6 months. I left that to go alone, and I'd been having a couple of clients, and that was great, and I was building that up. And the first few months out of freelance were quite hard. So the first month, I think I didn't make my rent. The second month, I just scraped my rent. And the third month, I went to a talk, and it inspired this illustration called Things You Don't See in Mainstream Porn. And I just posted that. And I posted it the day before I went on holiday with my mum. And it was meant to be this really relaxing holiday. And then overnight, for some reason, this just went viral. And I went from 2,000 followers to 20,000 overnight, 30,000 within the week, and then 50,000 like within a month. And I wasn't prepared for this level of like success, I guess, if you want to call it that. Because people were just commenting, like thousands of people were commenting, like saying they loved it or they didn't love it. And I felt like I had to reply to every single message. So that's what I spent my holiday doing, like refreshing. Oh, another 1,000 followers, refreshing. Oh, more comments, reply. And that also had a really good effect as well. Like people were finally seeing my work and commissioning me. And so that's when Netflix got in touch and asked if I wanted to do some work for them.
Wow.
And it felt like this was the moment that I'd been waiting for. Like I'd been building up this body of work and a portfolio, and finally people were seeing my work and appreciating it. And that, was the start of a good career, I think.
Did it spoil your holiday, or did it make it a little bit sweeter?
It was such a mixed bag. It was kind of a tale of two halves, because it just made my heart beat really fast, like excitement, but also what's happening. I don't know how to deal with this.
Yeah.
A lot of anxiety as well.
Not the relaxing weekend you wanted.
Not really.
But kind of a celebratory holiday at the same time.
I just kept having conversations with my mum saying, wow, I can't believe this is happening. And having to put my phone away because it made me too anxious.
I bet.
Were you nervous to then follow that up? Were you like, oh, well, people are now expecting me to, make something bigger and better next?
So much. And I kept thinking, how am I going to top it? And that's not a good place to be creatively when you're sort of trying to beat your previous best work or something. And I think that's also when Instagram can be harmful, if you're like relying on likes to get work or your self-worth. And it took me a little while to realize, you know what do I want to create? Who am I? I don't need to rely on these likes.
And obviously you took inspiration from a talk for that particular piece, but where else do you draw inspiration for your illustrations?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mix. So it will be kind of talks that I go to that particularly inspired me, or conversations with friends. But a lot of them just come from walking alone with my thoughts. Like my brain is just constantly talking to me all the time, just thinking about one thing and that will lead to something else, that will lead to something else. I'll be drying my hair. Oh, that's a good idea for an illustration. Yeah.
At what point do you actually put pen to paper? Is it like a long process from, oh, that might be good, to actually making it? Or is it pretty quick, like you have an idea and you go, all right, I'll make that now?
So the thing is, I need to get on top of the ideas, because if I don't, then it will just sit in my kind of document of ideas and not get done. So if there is a good idea, I need to jump on it and do it then. Otherwise, I'll have another idea and it will go into the, what do I call it? The graveyard of ideas.
So when you came out of university, before you went viral, before you had loads of followers on social media, what was the first thing you did?
Oh, so straight out of university, I moved back in with mum and dad. And this was when I was trying to do loads of outreach and get the attention of art directors. But at the same time, you want to be making money. So I decided to apply for little jobs and internships. And I actually got one at a feminist company doing social media. And the reason I got the job was because I said I'm also an illustrator. So they thought, oh, that's great. We can use illustration there as well.
And how did that go?
So at first it seemed like the dream job. I was doing social media and illustration and getting paid. They took me to London Fashion Week. I met all these amazing people. It was going great. And the turning point of that was one day they decided they wanted to do some merch with my illustrations. And I thought I was just doing the illustrations for the blog. So I thought, I retain the copyright because that's what I've said they're going to be used for. And they turned around and said, no, we own everything you do.
Ouch.
And that just made my heart sink, because I'd learnt about copyright. I learnt that, when you create something, you own the copyright unless you assign it away. And this is what I thought I was doing. But actually, when you're employed by someone, they own the copyright. So this is a big thing that I'd say to anyone working in the creative arts. Make sure you have a contract in place and make sure you retain your copyright, because it's so valuable. And especially to illustrators, you need to charge a lot for your copyright. And I don't know a specific figure necessarily, but figures that I've heard thrown around is like 20 grand. Like, that's to give you an idea of how much copyright means to an illustrator, because once you have someone's copyright, you can do anything you want with it. In this scenario, they sat me down and said, what do you want to do? You either give us your copyright or, it doesn't work for us anymore. And I said, I can't do that. And so I was fired and left in tears. And that was such a horrible experience, a learning curve. And then we also had a little battle afterwards, after I left, because we were still deciding what we're going to do with the illustrations, who owns it. And I was actually invoicing as a freelancer, so that's why I thought I still owned it. And in the end, they said, in the spirit of sisterhood, we'll let you have your illustrations.
How kind.
Yes.
So that was a hard lesson to learn, but was it, a vital one at least?
Oh, definitely. It made me a lot more cynical about people. And I think that's a shame, because when I came out of university, I had this naive optimism, which, just got slashed, brought me back down to reality, that you can't trust anyone.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a bit dark, isn't it? Or just protect yourself.
Yeah, I think that might be better advice.
Yeah.
So we're going to move now into your future plans. As an artist, what are your plans for the future? Do you have a 5-year plan or anything like that?
Oh, I wish I did, but I really don't. I just kind of take things each day as they come. Like, new commission comes into my inbox. Yeah, that sounds great. I'd like to do that. Or think, oh, wouldn't it be great to do a mural for this company? And so then I'll reach out to them and see if I can get that in place. But what else am I working on? I think I'm just working on diversifying what I do, because being freelance, if you just rely on one source of income, that's quite dangerous in case that source of income disappears. So at the moment, a lot of my work is through commissions, but I also have an online shop. And so this weekend, I did my first market, which was really exciting, just to see whether people would buy my prints in person. And I took a course. I think never stop learning. You can always, keep getting new skills, keep adding to your skill set, and keep things exciting. So I took a course in painting murals. So that was something I started doing last year too.
Wow, how was that?
Oh, it's amazing because I do all my illustrations digitally, actually. And this was, nice to just be painting on something physical and a huge wall as well. That's, nice and relaxing.
Are there any specific projects you're working on now that you want to promote or talk about?
Yes, I mean, if anyone wants to commission any murals, that would be great because I'm looking for more clients that want that. That's my focus for this year. But then also potentially maybe, fingers crossed, if everything goes through, a book project too, which I can't say too much about just yet.
Oh, we'll have to keep an eye out on your socials for that one.
So now the most important part of the podcast. What is the one piece of advice you would give students that are looking to get into the art industry or the illustration industry?
I would say keep that naive optimism that it's going to work, because I think if you didn't have that, you'd think, oh yeah, there's no way I'd ever get paid to do drawings. And that would be such a shame if that was the reason you didn't get into it, because you didn't think it would work out. Like, why not give it a go? And stay optimistic, because why not you?
That's really good advice. Really good advice. And keep your copyright.
And keep your copyright.
Yeah.
Keep your copyright if you can, or sell it for lots and lots and lots of money.
And that's it for today. Thank you so much for coming on, Hazel. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been really fun.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And we definitely recommend that you go over and follow Hazel's socials. She's got some incredible illustrations, one that I even posted today for International Women's Day. So where can our listeners find you, Hazel?
So I have a website, hazelmead.com, and Instagram's probably the place I put most energy into. So that's @hazel.mead.
Amazing.
If you've enjoyed this week's episode, please give us a like and make sure you subscribe where you get your podcasts.
Next week, we'll be joined by marine biologist Yasmin Mead, who'll be discussing her journey from failing her A-levels to studying alternative green energy for her PhD. We'll see you next week.